It is so nice to be here. I have many great friends and acquaintances that come from Canada, not all of them musicians. Chancellor, Mr. President and Vice Chancellor, Mr. Chair of the Board of Governors, honored platform guests, graduating class, family, and friends. Yesterday, I was in Folsom, California, where there's a famous prison made famous by Johnny Cash in a song. A lot of my friends said I would wind up in Folsom someday, but I was there for the Segway Polo Championships. Segway, an unusual two-wheeled device. Unusual devices that are different than life before are what attract geeks and computer followers and those looking for the next gadget, the next new different way to do things. Well, I had to pull out my iPhone and run Foursquare and check in to Folsom Prison. I drove by the prison, I checked in, I left a little tip saying, get your reservation early and request a top bunk. This degree is very important to me. I will cry over it. It is as meaningful as anything I've ever gotten in my life, and today is one of those incredibly meaningful days. It represents a lot of education I've gotten, a lot of work I've done pursuing learning, but really, when you're in the university, you are learning more than anything else how to learn for the rest of your lives. You are learning the techniques of developing strategies that work to understanding things that you'll need to understand for your jobs. You're learning to work hard on a project and have diligence to reach a completion. You're learning the value of excellence. It comes out as grades now, but you'll wind up that everything you do in life, it's as though you're being graded. And you're learning, some of you, how to write the book yourself. Rather than the right answer always being someone else's, that you read in the book, that you remembered, that you wrote down, that you wrote the right answer on a test, you're going to be able to write books yourself and put together the pieces of learning that you have now and develop more complex structures and devices and software and services that do things for others. We have an analog world that really has pretty much changed to a digital world in my lifetime. With the digital world, things are, precise, they're calculatable, repeatable. It's almost as though there's a right and a wrong. A digital logic either puts out the right answer or the wrong answer. It's kind of these 1-0 absolutist things. It's almost like if there were really high truth, and truth should be the apex of all good. But back in the analog world, things, maybe people studying history learn how to write very eloquent words. It's very subjective how they communicate and what they're doing. They persuade us with emotions a lot of times. Analog things in the world. Analog things are very natural, like a waveform in the air, rather than a bunch of numbers describing that waveform. And the analog world is very important. We try to mimic this analog world with our digital know-how. But it's important to remember that the world needs both. A company needs both. When you go to work, we need to get things done and accomplished and made them to work in the digital world. That's the most efficient way to do things. And yet products have to carry across a feeling along with their science. They have to carry along a feeling of something a person would want to use, that something is better. It gives us a better life. That's what technology is about. Early technology when I was growing up was a dishwasher. I thought, how did people live without a dishwasher? This is really incredible that we've developed it. Of course, I could have said television. I always wanted, through my development in life, I wanted my own computer someday. I made it a goal. I told my father that I would give up owning a house, ever, rather so that I could own a computer someday. And you know what? When you want something on a personal level for yourself, nothing will stop you. Nothing will get in the way. You'll find the way to do it with whatever resources. If you have very little money, Steve Jobs and I we were in our young 20s. We had no savings accounts, no friends that could loan us money, no business experience. You do with the little bit of money you have, you find ways to accomplish things, and sometimes it forces you to better answers. In your companies, remember, if you turn out to be engineers, marketing sometimes opposes engineering. Engineering knows how to do things that we've learned in school. Marketing sometimes says that's not important for this particular product. It's very important to open up your mind and imagine users of whatever you're working on, and give marketing very high importance. Our life of how we do things has changed so much. I think of almost everything I do throughout the day on my computer. How did they do it before? How could I have ever gotten this done? It would have been nearly impossible without this great tool. And it's changed so much, yet we're so much in the middle of this change, and change is difficult. It's difficult to grow up used to paper and books and newspapers and things, and all of a sudden there are new ways. It's difficult to relate to the younger generation. When you're just out of engineering school, you're ready to be given assignments. You'll go do and design this particular thing. And you've learned a lot how to do it. You'll look up some books and references, and you'll get the data you need, and you'll write your program, you'll design your hardware. But there's always a time for innovation, thinking about how could I do it a little bit better than I've been taught, a little bit better than is in any existing book. Take advantage of a new material, take advantage of a new part that exists. Always look for relationships that matter more than just the data. It's best, in my mind, to simplify things whenever you can. Eliminate parts, eliminate steps, eliminate hops along the way that the data flows, and you've done the world a great service. You've given us more leisure time. You've given us more in our lives. Less is almost always better. Don't be afraid to compromise for good enough if you can save parts and save money. That's my little advice. Also, believe in yourself. Believe in your ability to invent things that didn't exist before. To look at the way people are doing something and think it out and say, oh, there's a much better way. There's a much better way. It's an affordable way. It's much less costly. It's a different way of dealing with life. Look at all the great companies like Apple and Google and Facebook that you respect and where they came from. A couple of young kids out of college usually. Place the quality of your work above the desire to just get money. Believe that you're making something good, whether it's for yourself, which will drive you the hardest, your employer, or for the world. It's got to be high quality. It's got to be as good as anyone else in the world could create. You've got to feel that way. And also, it's good to cross disciplines. It's good to do many parts of the same job. The guy who can, put together the hardware and solder things and do the technicians and draft the design and actually build it, frees himself from having to deal with a ton of other little people and committees. And you can get 2 to 10 times as much work done in the same time frame when you work that way. That was really key to a lot of my life and my own developments. Being able to just do a lot of stuff independently. Sometimes you have to learn a new discipline. Don't say just because I don't know it, I can't do it well. You have reference materials. You've learned how to learn. There's often a distinction between technology and humanness. Who's more important, the human or the technology? We had a gentleman, classical musician, that came into Apple and talked to Steve Jobs and myself in the garage, and he told us that when you build a piece of technology, you can put a lot of work into it, software or hardware, to make it natural and obvious and easy to use for a human being. Then you have placed the human being at the top of the chain. If you simply put in every feature in the world and every ability and let the human being modify their normalness to learn how to use it, you've placed the technology higher as the master and the human being more as the slave. Obviously, we think of the way we don't want the human being to be the slave. We want the human being to be the master. We want to build things around the human being as though they're the center of the universe. Things that are easy and very much like the human brain have always attracted me as the way to go. When it's easier and fewer steps I have to negotiate to get there. When I first had a Newton message pad, the first day I had it, I just wrote on a piece of paper a reminder about my daughter, Sarah, dentist, Tuesday, 2 p.m. And I saw a little button called Assist. I didn't know what it did, and I clicked it. Opened up a calendar program. It popped in all the data, the right time and day, and the right person. I said, oh my gosh, this is the way I think. Sarah, dentist, 2 p.m. I just write it, and it does it. I could write messages like call Jim, click Assist, and it would go beep, 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 and call Jim. I thought, my God, that's the way my brain works. I don't have to think about a new structure that's on computers. I don't like today's computer structure. It's too complicated. I don't like remembering which app to run and which buttons to press to get what done. And I'm doing it all day long very efficiently and fast and proud of myself. I don't like doing it. I like picking up a phone and speaking commands into it. I like to say, navigate to Ruth's Chris Steakhouse in Montreal. I like to say, call Janet mobile. I like to pick up my phone and say, email Janet, I'm on stage right now, period. And have it done. And I think every single app in the future, I would much rather speak to the natural thought that I have rather than follow a bunch of procedures I have learned. Robotics is in our future. We talk about humans and androids. When is machine intelligence going to be like human intelligence? When is it going to have feelings, motives? When is it going to get up and create a speech to an audience like this on its own? When is it going to create poetry that has references to human-like experiences? Well, I think, when will a robot be able to make a cup of coffee in my house? Most of you could walk in my house and you might be able to figure out how to make a cup of coffee there. Imagine a robot having to stumble over all the different surfaces and walk, determine what is a kitchen. How do you know what a kitchen is? You've learned it all your life from seeing them. What is a coffee machine? You look around, you look for words, you look for clues, you open drawers and look for parts. This robot, we think we can program something to know how to do it from day one, but really it's going to have to go through a learning process like humans to really be able to do these jobs we want so badly. There are so many openings for robotics in our life: washing the dishes, washing my car. I don't care if a little robot goes outside and takes all night long, 8 hours, to wash my car 1 square centimeter at a time. It's done in the morning. I would love that little device. Well, we have a relationship with androids already. We have built the technology of the world. Everything we wear, everything we eat, everything we touch has been made possible at today's prices. How much we can have because of machinery and robotics, and it's all computer controlled now. So the androids have really already won. You know, we'll fire people once in a while, but we'll never get rid of the tools of production. And where's it going to go in the future? We've got things easy. We're inventing machinery to make things easy for humans, so we can just sit back and be served tea and coffee by these androids and these robots someday. We're making ourselves less relevant. I hope they treat us as well as we would want them to. They aren't there yet, but it's not too far off. We have a lot of great problems in the world. Problems of resources, problems of humanity, problems with wars. And the solutions, in my mind, are all with engineers, with mathematics, with figuring out how to build things, create things, and change this world and improve it. That's your job. Thank you very much.